This is TWiT.
You noticed probably, if you're a ThinkPad fan, you've noticed I like my ThinkPads. It's a T470S from last year. The 480 came out this year. In fact, we have a whole bunch of new ThinkPads that Lenovo introduced at CES. And I was particularly interested in one of them, the new ThinkPad Yoga. This is, I'm going to do a little sneaky thing here. I'm going to take my Yogas and I'm going to flip them over. This is one of the things the Yoga does that's different from the X1 Carbon, is you can, it's a two-in-one. It allows you to use it as a tablet, use it in this tent mode, which I actually like to do to watch movies. These are two different ThinkPad Yogas, last year's and this year's. If you look at the keyboard, we'll start by looking at the keyboard. You'll see there are some differences. This is in my hand here. This is the new Yoga, and they've changed a little bit. The ThinkPad logo is now dark and has a little red dot. I kind of like it. The good news is the keyboard is unchanged, and this is what makes ThinkPads so great. They still have decent keyboards when so many companies have abandoned good keyboards. Lots of travel. I think it's 1.9 millimeters. They have a great feel.
They never get rid of the nub.
And they have the nub. Now, I'm not a nub fan. Peter Bright loves his nub at Ars Technica. But if you love the nub, many people say it's the most accurate way to do a mouse pointer. And that's why it has these buttons here. This is left, right, and center button. But it also has an excellent trackpad. And one thing Lenovo did with the ThinkPads last year is they started using Microsoft's IntelliMouse, or whatever they call it, ThinkPad drivers, which really has made this an excellent ThinkPad. Of course, these are now 8th generation Intel CPUs. I have the 7th generation. I don't think that's a big deal. But what people are really talking about a lot now, I should show the front too, because the front has changed. The ThinkPad is black there, and they now have the X1 branding on the front of it. You'll see there's not much difference in connectors. In fact, they're almost identical. And this is one of the reasons I really love the ThinkPads. They do not stint on connectors. Wait a minute, this is the old one. You'll forgive me because it looks exactly the same as the new one. I'll show this side first. It has two Type-C USB connectors. Now, notice one of the Type A connectors, the USB 3.1 connectors, has gone missing. They don't have that anymore. But its connector does see a little battery logo on there. That means you can charge with it even when the laptop is closed or off. That's a nice feature for road warriors. Full-size HDMI, I think that's a really big selling point. Here's another USB 3.1 Type A connector. This is their kind of weirdo Ethernet adapter. It does not have a full-size Ethernet adapter. You have to buy the dongle from Lenovo if you want to use this one. Standard headphone jack, on-off button, and both these Yogas have, something I really like. This is a pen. It's recharging in the slot. It's an active pen with battery, but it recharges in the slot. If you like having a pen, I love the idea. I don't use the pen that often, but the fact that it's always there and this does not fall off is really a nice feature.
And you can't insert it the wrong way.
And you cannot do what I have done in the past, which is put it in wrong. The biggest difference, though, that everybody's talking about is these screens. Now, this is, one of the reasons I bought this is I think Lenovo, I almost called them IBM, because these are really very similar to the old IBM ThinkPads. They haven't changed that much. Lenovo was selling, for 1 year only, the OLED version of this screen. This is a WQHD. Let me do my fingerprint right here so I can log in. Both of these have fingerprint readers. Let me just log in on that one. So on the right is the OLED screen. Let me see if I turn this up. Let me turn it up a little bit. See if I can get the brightness levels the same. It's hard to do. This is the new HDR screen. This is also WQHD. That's the new screen. That's maybe now too bright, isn't it? The new screen on the Lenovo. It is Dolby Vision HDR. So in theory, if you're watching a movie, if you're watching something with HDR photos, this should look better. If you look at the OLED, it's a little more saturated. The colors are actually less natural. Look at this rock. It's really beautiful. But it's got that typical OLED kind of oversaturation.
I mean, the sky over here looks more like a painting. And over here it looks more like a photo.
I think the HD screens are gorgeous. These are IPS LCD. They don't offer the OLED anymore. I think they're probably in short supply and they probably couldn't. So let's put away the OLED because I don't want to make anybody unhappy and talk about the 3rd generation. So memory up to 16 gigabyte DDR3. They have I have a terabyte NVMe SSD drive, the Opal 2.0 drives in mine. That's also available for a higher price in the Yoga. The battery is a little smaller. It's 2 watt hours smaller. It's 54 watt hours, but you're going to get good battery life on this. Lenovo says 15.4 hours. I get about 5 or 6 hours. That's about what you'd expect when you read 15.4 hours. Yeah, I get about a third of that.
Depressingly,
about
that is
right.
true, yes.
One thing they've done, though, that I really like, if you don't get the Hello camera, the infrared camera, they do have a shutter on the new Lenovo Yoga, and you can see there's a red dot there when I close the shutter. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't want to have that camera on when you're doing something else, a physical shutter is the best way to do it. It's
I
like
wish
putting
we'd see
tape
this
over
more often in laptops.
I think we're going to, frankly.
It feels like the time is right.
It's a nice feature. However, if you do want to get Windows Hello, and I like Windows Hello because I just look at the camera and it'll wake up, that shutter is not available because it needs an infrared camera as well, and I guess they just felt it wouldn't be possible. Still a fingerprint reader, but they've done something more. There's a secure enclave in here, so the fingerprint information is not available to the operating system at all, and it's FIDO, which means that's the fast identity online authentication, which means with the proper software, you'd be able to log on to websites, use this for payment. That's nice. That's exactly what you should do with a fingerprint reader. And frankly, I think with a fingerprint reader, I don't worry so much about Windows Hello.
Sure.
It's a nice thing to have. I don't have it on my old Yoga, but because the fingerprint's fast and effective and works very well. Let's see, what else? They've got far-field microphones. Everybody does now for Cortana, 360 degrees, works great across the room. Alexa is coming. Right now, it's just Cortana. I think that's the biggest difference. You lose a USB port, you gain a shutter, you've got the secure enclave for the fingerprint reader and FIDO support. That's really good news. But really, this is a great laptop. This is a great laptop last year. This is a great laptop this year. I spent an awful lot of extra. Too. Yeah, this thin and light, and yet it's roadworthy. Warrior worthy. The hinges are black now too. That's the fast. If you want to know, if you're going down the street and you say, "Gee, I wonder if that's a second generation or a third generation," that's how you can tell. Black hinges. This, like my second generation Yoga, does something that only a few computers do. This used to be a little more common. When you go into the tent mode, watch, the keys will retract. Ooh. Oh. All the way into the body, so there are no more, no accidental keystrokes. You can put it on something flat and the keys are not hitting. I like that feature. This seems to be a little bit of a smoother hinge than on my second generation Yoga, which is a little creaky to do that key retraction thing. Maybe mine's just getting a little older over time. But they've done a nice job. All in all, this is a computer you'd love. It starts at $1,700. This one has the i5. I honestly, I can't tell the difference in an i5 and an i7 between the 7th generation and the 8th generation.
I think the red dot in ThinkPad that glows when it's on. I actually think that's a pretty smart little feature. Yeah.
You like that? Yeah. I am very.
It's the little things.
I am a big ThinkPad fan. You're asking the wrong guy. If you want an honest review of the ThinkPad, I just love these things. They now have, because they have Thunderbolt 3 ports, they have a side dock instead of the dock that I'm using here on the older Lenovo's, the physical underneath dock. They don't have that port on the bottom anymore that you would dock with your, the old school docks. But Thunderbolt 3 is a great way to dock. And it's nice because these side docks are not as expensive as the big laptop docks that you put on there. There's the ThinkPad hybrid USB-C with USB-A dock for only $270. You might want to get an Ethernet dongle if you'd like to use hardwired Ethernet. You can't use it otherwise. I did buy that and I've never used it.
But you have it.
But I have it.
For that one time.
I'm ready. The one time. I carry it in my briefcase all the time. Definitely. Thumbs up on the Yoga. You know, the X1 Carbon, which is a little thinner and a little lighter, but doesn't have that 2-in-1 feature, is a nice choice as well. I just happen to love, on an airplane.
On an airplane, yeah. That's the perfect use case for something like that.
That is just a great way to watch movies.
Yeah.
This is the laptop I travel with all the time because it's thin, light, and it's a great way to watch movies. In fact, I'm going to be loading up my Yoga second generation with Netflix movies for our trip to Japan in a couple of weeks, and this should last me through most of the trip. I really, really like it. Highly recommend it.